Welcome back to my series on dialogue distortions. This is a series in which I am taking a look at board game conversations through the lens of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is my mode as a psychotherapist. So this is part 9, which I'm recording a little bit later because people keep talking on the internet. I see more and more patterns. But I'm attaching it to 8 more parts of dialogue distortion, which you can see on my channel, Shelf Story. So go ahead and check the dialogue distortion playlist for those. So the pattern that I have detected more recently, and I want to talk about in its own separate video, I'm calling zero-sum thinking. Zero-sum thinking kicks in when we perceive something we want is limited and scarce, and the idea that if someone gets, then someone else will lose. You can think of it in terms of material stuff. You know, if I have $10, someone takes $5, now I have my 5. They've gained $5. I've lost $5, and the sum of that interaction is 0. Kicks in especially when it comes to this, interactions, human interactions in human psychology with non-material stuff, love and respect. And, even friendship, like a depressed person can perceive others who seem to have all the friends and I have nothing, almost like they're hogging all the friends. Or beauty, I feel so ugly and they feel, they're so beautiful, and being near that person makes me feel uglier, as if there's like a direct push and pull, a zero sum, more beauty there, less beauty here. It, as I was saying, results from a scarcity mindset. There's only a limited amount of stuff and we're fighting for it. Think of a game table, an individual game table. There's only a couple of chairs. If I take a chair, then someone else loses out on the opportunity to get that chair. That is a zero-sum mindset out of scarcity. The opposite being an abundance mindset, where, maybe I missed out on one table, but there's always another table. Or like just in the idea of the board gaming space, there's always a place for somebody. There's always a game for somebody to play. That's abundance. Where this kicks in the cultural space, which is where I'm talking in this series, is the idea that there's folks in the margins, folks, women and LGBTQ and POC, who would like more visibility, more presence on the games, more designers making the games, and just more attention to our issues. And the center is reacting, this reactionary cultural idea, which I mentioned in part 0 of the series. The center is reacting in a way where it's like, oh, they're taking something away. The more respect, the more status, the more attention, the more all these other things they get, the less that I get. There used to be no problem with, white guys or whatever it is. And now they're asking for respect. So now there's more hatred in the system for white guys. More love for them, more hatred for me. And it's these understood as this like push and pull, very direct, because things like visibility and status, and those are all perceived to be limited. I think that is the result of a distortionary thinking, and I'd like to use a couple of quotes that I saw on the internet recently to illustrate the point. Quote, "I think we are wasting a lot of strength for arguing about these issues in board game forums. We should use our strength to change other important matters like real oppression." I have dealt with this issue a couple of times, and I have 2 responses to it. Number one, I think it misunderstands the nature of quote-unquote real oppression. It's saying that, okay, board games are, just a game, frivolous, and those kind of things. Here's real issues, and there's no link between the two. That is, I've tried to demonstrate over multiple videos, patently false. You kind of have to start from the idea that games are cultural products. Games and movies and video games and, cultural media. And then they do have an effect. If I denigrate a culture, if cultures experience stereotyping and erasures and appropriations in the cultural forms, then it makes it easier to accept, easier to continue to do real material oppressions. So there is a link between the two that I've articulated over multiple past videos, and I will continue to articulate in future ones. That's number one. Number two is this idea that strength and vitality and energy are limited. If I explode onto this Twitter thread complaining about this movie or this game or whatever it is, then I won't have the strength left to deal with material harms that people encounter, which, again, zero-sum mentality, thinking that all, the things that are needed to change stuff are limited, and it's just false. I will say that attention is limited very much, especially in our society where things are vying for attention all of our time. So when, we do our Twitter threads and we complain about stuff, then it could have an effect. But I would like to hear that from somebody who has been in the game a long time. I'm showing you a quote right now from the person who made the movie Don't Look Up, which is an activist movie about the climate change. I've done a brief impressions of that on the channel. They're saying, knock on doors, don't just complain on Twitter. So making that same point, there's a zero sum, but I would need somebody with real skin in the game to articulate that. If you're internet rando and you're using it to shut down conversation, if that person is not using their energy for real oppression, then I don't really want to hear it. It is an opportunity for folks who are posting to assess themselves. Are they spending too much energy, or are they spending too much attention, grabbing too much attention on the cultural stuff and not kind of moving on down to, material things that are happening in the world? Well, that's an invitation. It's not a shutdown. Don't do that less. That's coming at it from zero sum. Find the energy, that fire in the belly, to talk about them all. That is the nature. That is where you can talk about abundance and not just big energy sinks. All right. So there's another way in which zero sum plays out, and I think this one comes up more often. I have a big problem with gay pride. It's not about being treated equally. You want to be treated special. Gay pride is, oh, look at me, I'm special, and I have to make sure you know it. That kind of conversation, that line of an argument comes up all the time in this cultural space. National Hispanic Month and Black Month and all these different things and parades and celebrations and this idea that by recognizing and visualizing these things, we're taking away something from usually the center, right? The Black Lives Matter. Right? So that whole thing blew up. Why is that such a problem? Because somehow we're saying that Black lives matter more than white lives or whoever other lives, as if there's a zero sum. Celebrating one, giving attention to one, takes away from something else. I even got a comment about this, and I want to thank the person who contributed a really great comment on my YouTube channel. Recently, a Korean woman, a news anchor, spoke about New Year's traditions on the air, sharing a list shown to viewers on the screen. And while she shared that information, she made a comment about Koreans eating dumplings on New Year's as a tradition. As a result of that, a woman called her, left a voicemail, complaining she was too Asian, being very Asian, basically it not being okay for her to share that experience. So if you read the rest of the comment, it goes into the personal hurt that the news anchor felt, and it was kind of a very shattering experience, that this idea that they couldn't just be themselves and express, and this idea that just cultural expression in general can't ask for special attention. Yes, what is being asked for is quote unquote special attention, but the special attention is not taking away from equality. That's zero sum. The special attention is actually affirming equality. Think of it like I take a very organic view of these things. You're raising a garden. I'm not going to just spread my attention equally among all the plants and the whatever I'm trying to grow. It's like, look, I'm going to focus on here. One, I'm going to grow my tomatoes, and then I'm going to grow my watermelons, and I'm going to grow my flowers over here, and I'm going to give each individual attention so that the whole garden can grow. Or working out, anybody who does serious workouts. We got my arms day and I got my legs day, and I got different parts of my body that I'm going to focus on, give that special attention to, so that the whole body is healthy. If I do an arms day, it's not like my legs are going to fall off and just like be little chicken things. Like, no, that it will be a promise for that, some other day will come where that other thing will be focused on. And, I know the idea that like the middle doesn't have a day, right? That we don't have a white appreciation day or something like that. Well, it sounds like a lot of days. I mean, are we appreciating white culture in our games? Well, I got no lack of appreciation of the middle that's already there. And if we need to put in some special attention to the margins, then all we're doing is trying to give something attention in that organic way so that everybody has something to celebrate and is a part of the whole. Does not take away anything significant from anyone else. So that's zero-sum mentality. I can go on and on about that, but I would love to hear what everybody else thinks about that, how that mindset works here in the comments.